Okay, so I'm going to get started. Today's topic is I don't want you to suffer FOMO, fear of missing out, in federal government contracting. And so we're going to talk about this. I'm going to talk to you about niching down and why it's so important. But sometimes we have fear of missing out on other things that aren't the niched down core competency. And I'm going to talk to you about that and why you don't have to suffer that. There's ways to deal with that, and it can really turn out some great opportunities. If you don't know who I am, I'm Neil McDonnell. I'm the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to my daily LinkedIn Live, where I provide procedures and process for you to have success in federal government contracting in the federal market. I've spent 20 years as a small business owner, and since 2018, I've been teaching people just like you that government contracting is not a secret, it's just a process. And the process goes from A to Z, and today I'm going to be talking about the focus on your core competency part of the process. When you focus, the process goes much smoother. So I'm going to jump into that and start talking about the niches and the riches. And maybe I'll start with the whole idea. Is it niches or is it niche or niche? It is niche. And here's how I tell you which it is, right? We don't say niches are in the riches. We say the niches are in the riches. It's pronounced differently by somebody else. But if you believe that the niches are in the riches, then we're niching down. We're not niching down. And it's not that I don't mind being fancy, but if I say niching at one point and then I say the niches are in the riches, it doesn't make any sense. By the way, one of my favorite things, just to spread the word everywhere, the way we pronounce NAICS is NAICS, N-A-I-C-S, it's NAICS, no other way. And you know how I know this? It's not Neil's way. If you go to the Census Bureau where they lay out all the NAICS codes, in there they've got a line that says it's pronounced NAICS like snakes. I was like, oh, I used to call it NACS. I used to call it NICS or whatever. And so I'm a big fan of trying to go, is it niche or niche? Today it's niche. Okay, so let's talk about really quick, just in case you don't know, what FOMO is, right? Fear of missing out. And really this is everything. Right? If you're at work and somebody's working on something over there, you feel like you're missing out on whatever's going on in excitement. And I'll give you a scenario of how bad FOMO can be for your health. I grew up in a large family, 12 of us, 10 kids, 2 parents, 1 house. And this was normal back when I grew up in an Irish family. And I had this one cousin, she was an only child, and she would come over and she loved coming over. She was a little bit older than us, but she loved coming over because it was just such a great family environment, all this noise and fun. And we would sit down for dinner and she would sit in the middle of the table. And during dinner, she'd be looking over here, listening to somebody telling a joke. The joke's building up, it's building up. And then all of a sudden over on this side of the table, she starts hearing laughter and she turns and faces that way and she's listening to people laughing. They're all laughing at the punchline. And then this side starts laughing. And the problem is her FOMO, fear of missing out on that joke, led her to miss this joke as well. If she had just stayed with one joke, I don't care which one it is, but if she had just stayed with it, she would have been able to be part of the laughter compared to just the tormented cousin who came to the McDonnell household. So fear of missing out is this idea of you think you're missing out on something. And I would argue that when you feel that, you're not seeing what's here and right in front of you. And when you build on what's in front of you, your ability to impact stuff, I call it the sphere of influence, but your ability to succeed in other areas will just keep growing and growing if you start focused. And that's what I want to talk about today is being focused. Glad to see everybody saying hi and jumping in on the comments. I really like seeing that. So let's talk about what niches are to me. When I talk about a niche, I'm talking about taking your core competency and either going all the way down or perhaps all the way up, but going to a term that defines your business core capabilities, your primary services in a way that is memorable. You can think of it as a hook. You know, we do Microsoft SharePoint. We do sheetrock and plastering or whatever that's called. Man, why am I forgetting it? I've been out of construction too long, but basically we do painting, let's say, right? We do indoor painting, we do outdoor painting, whatever it is, that 1 to 2 or 3 words that might have a couple of adjectives on there, that's the niche. And the idea of it is it's a focused core competency. The reason, and I'm going to use some examples in a second, do some more examples here, But the reason this is important is because you want to be memorable to the people you're talking to. And I'll dive into, by the way, why niches are important. Those are the three things I want to cover today, by the way. What are niches? Why is it important? And then how can you expand beyond niches, right? Once you come down to a niche, then I'll teach you how to expand out of the niche. It's an interesting concept, but it'll take care of your success down the road. So coming back to what are niches, right? So let's use some examples. I just said in construction, right? Do you do general construction? Way too big. Unless you're a general contractor and you have past performance managing huge projects, especially in the federal government, they'll just be risk averse. They want somebody who's done this before, and or somebody who's built to that point. If you come down and say, well, we build buildings, that's still pretty big, especially for small businesses, right? Companies under 10 million in this scenario today. If you're under 10 million, you want to be, in my opinion, pigeonholed to something. So people go, oh, they're the painting company. We build it out, we frame it, we throw up the sheetrock. But if you want perfection in the painting, these are your folks. Every time they come in and paint on one of our jobs, we get top notches on quality. The inspector or whoever, right, comes in, looks and says, it's perfect. You want to be known that way. The ability to scale after that is really easy, right? You can come back through your experience. Once you're in with a prime contractor or once you're in with a government agency painting, you can go, you know what? We also can hang the drywall. You know what? We can also frame. You just start moving farther and farther out of that core competency. Let me use another one, but let me reverse it the other way. So cybersecurity is a great example of trying to find a niche. So cybersecurity, if you're not familiar with it, is huge. It encompasses everything that's electronic, basically. And so it can fit into the software side of the house. It can fit into the network side of the house. Cybersecurity fits into the machines that are running things, nuclear power plants, et cetera. It's everywhere. So cybersecurity is pretty big. And if you use the scenario I just did a minute ago, well, then you want to come down. You might do offensive cybersecurity, which is basically attacking our enemies, or you might do defensive cybersecurity, which is protecting for our enemies attacking us. And our enemies at that point could be obviously, China or other adversary countries, or it could be internal bad actors. It could be bad actors within domestic or foreign, right? That whole idea. But you can come in and do cybersecurity at only the software level, at security level. But one of the things about niching is you want to sit there and get known. So if you do, one example is risk management framework. If you can come in and say, I do risk management framework, we do it better than anybody else. Then people go, oh, they're the RMF people. And you can expand your conversation with risk management into continuous risk management approaches or into continuous authority to operate, the ATO. And if you don't know what it is, doesn't matter. But it's this idea of the people who you're selling to, they will get it. And it's all related to risk management. One other thing is when you think about your niches could be on a buzzword. So when I formed my last company the last time and we made it a SharePoint company, part of the reason we did that and said SharePoint was because at that time, Microsoft was going full force into pushing SharePoint everywhere. And it was in 90% of the federal agencies. That was a stat we were able to use. And so we got ourselves to be known as the Microsoft SharePoint company, not software developers, not program managers, project managers. There was all this stuff we could do, but we got ourselves known the niche of SharePoint because it helped put that word into people's heads. And when we talked to our customers, we would say, look, 90% of you already own SharePoint. It's an expensive product you bought. We help you get your value out of it. We give you the return on investment from that purchase. And so we were able to latch on it. And then once we were in, we expanded our business to other areas. It's a similar thing in cybersecurity. There's a buzzword out there right now called zero trust. And and zero trust has been out there forever, in my opinion, right? We've been doing it for a long time before the words even really came along. And but it's a buzzword. It's this exciting thing within the federal government. The president put out a memorandum about it. And so sometimes you can make your niche around a buzzword. So, hey, we're your zero trust company. And if you do that, then people just start saying you're the zero trust company, even though if you know anything about zero trust, it has all these legs to it, all these different aspects that you could get into, but you've niched down what you do. And I've come up now, niched down all these things to say this buzzword is what we do. And that's what I mean by when I say what are niches. Niches are this ability to focus your effort and to be known for something. And this goes into why are niches important. So one of the first reasons is just marketing, like I've been talking about, right? You want to be memorable. Neil, that's the SharePoint company, this company over here does elevators. This company over here does cybersecurity. Whatever it is, pick it and get known for it. When you're memorable, people will not only be able to remember you on their own, but when they're talking to other people, they will be able to sit there and reference back and go, oh, I know a company that does cross-domain. I was just looking at 2 different companies that say they do cross-domain today. And it's important because I'm working with a couple of customers who I know need teaming partners that have cross-domain. That's why when some of you who might be on this call today, if I reach out to you and I say, hey, send me a DSBS profile, your capability statement or something, I want to begin to try to remember who you are and what you do. I know that, for example, Amit's on the call and they do artificial intelligence and machine learning, right? That's their thing. He could tell you that he does all this other stuff. But what I'm trying to do is to go, oh, you're the AI ML. Once you're in, you can expand. And so marketing is both about your branding and the things you might do on LinkedIn, your website or whatever, but it's also about marketing to somebody like me who then is repeating what you do. Some other things about marketing when you niche down like this and the value of niching down is that if you're trying to make yourself be seen as a subject matter expert, niching down allows people to keep coming back and saying, this is the company to come back to about elevators. Everything you possibly want to know about elevators, these are the people. Compare that to talking about elevators or talking about escalators or talking about tractors or construction or whatever it is. Pretty soon it's too generic and the content you provide isn't generally helpful to me every single time. But if you sit there, like you guys are a perfect example. And this is, I apologize for saying you guys, since I like speaking only to you, but the people who come to my LinkedIn Lives are expecting me to talk primarily about federal government sales. If I start talking about how to succeed in the state government, then I'm diluting my expertise that I'm trying to provide to you. Could I provide tips? Sure. But maybe that's not really in your interest because you're focused on the federal market, like I told you should be. And so when you do that yourself, when you're sharing content, when you're trying to let people know that you're the subject matter expert, niching down allows you to make sure that all the content you share is related and almost builds on each other to help people know, like, and trust you, right? Okay, so another reason it's really important is the pipeline development. Sales pipeline is where you put opportunities that you're pursuing. Business development and capture is all about opportunities, identification, and developing those opportunities into wins for yourself. So when you focus on a niche, let's use Amit just as the example today with artificial intelligence, machine learning, then everything in his pipeline should be related to that niche topic. So when he looks at opportunities he might prime, it'll be AI ML related. When he's looking into subcontracting and he's trying to find opportunities, he can communicate that this is my space. I'm your AI ML teaming partner. And this goes to the third reason on why niches is important, is it allows teammates to quickly go, oh, Amit can shore up our AI ML need. Jim can help us with cross-domain activity. All of us, if we're niching down and we can be easily identifiable as this company can bring this expertise, then people can easily think about you for adding you to the team. The other thing about opportunities in pipeline development is in business development, you're trying to reach out to the government. So if you're focused on AI ML, then you would begin to try to identify AI ML directorates or offices within various agencies around the federal government. And that's who you're trying to build a relationship with. That's whose stuff you're reading. And that's how you'll identify opportunities that are perhaps coming out farther down the line, but aren't even in SAM or something like that. So when you niche down, it allows you to focus your sales efforts into a certain spot. And the last part about that sales effort is proposal writing. When you write an RFI or an RFP response, if you're niched down, you're writing the very best elevator content. You're writing the very best AI/ML content and able to do it quickly. So then you can respond to many more opportunities because you're only responding to your niche area. Hope that makes sense. Trying to look here. Yeah, I always hear the NAICS codes are moving around. Yep, NAICS, steak. That one's a good one too. It's better than snakes out there. So the last thing I want to talk about is I've convinced you to sit there and niche down, right? Whatever you do, what's the easiest way for me to go, oh, that's what you do, right? And it's a very tough thing because you fear missing out on other opportunities. If I tell you, you need to niche down on just cybersecurity, you might worry about, well, we also do, just using this example today, systems engineering. That's fine. But the problem out there is that if you say both of them, people will get confused, like the joke I used at the beginning of the story today, and they won't get either one of them. But if you say cybersecurity and you get in the door, even if you get in the door just to have conversations, you're not even working yet, then you can say, by the way, right? Cybersecurity is the core of what we do, but we also do system engineering, software development, blah, blah, blah. I mean, you can begin to expand the conversation. But the way I really like to do it is for you to first get business, get revenue, making money with your niche. And so an example is if I get in and where our niche is SharePoint, especially SharePoint migration from one version to the next version, if I get in and do that, then I can begin to look around and say, well, there's administrative needs that might need to be done. So some people want to know, how can I use SharePoint? Let's use a VA hospital. How can I use SharePoint to run my pharmaceutical department or my facilities and logistics department? I'm managing, one of the SharePoint projects I had was using SharePoint to manage construction of these large building projects. And so I'm able to get in and help them stand up SharePoint to begin to use it. Well, once I do that, then I can begin to look even farther in, and I'm using a specific example here, where there was this massive mission critical system that was built on, it wasn't even built on .NET, it was built on something else older than that, easily 15 years old. And I'm able to look in there. No one likes it. No one likes how slow it is, but everybody's afraid to move it over. And I can talk about, you know what? We can use SharePoint to do this, this, and this, which will give you new features immediately while keeping the old system in place. And then we can slowly start moving you forward. So I expanded my niche from, hey, we just do SharePoint, they're the SharePoint guys, to let me handle your biggest mission critical application that everybody uses, tens of thousands of users around the world, and all of your critical data. Let me pull all that into SharePoint. And so I'm increasing my sphere of influence and what people see us as. Yeah, they're the SharePoint guys, but they pretty much help you with everything. I've gone and expanded from SharePoint into process improvement, where I'm looking at HR departments who are doing annual reviews. I did this at the White House, 3,000 employees doing annual reviews. We not only became the experts at SharePoint, but then because we were going to bring an employee evaluation, annual evaluation onto SharePoint, we had to work with them on the process and improve the process for how communication was going back and forth between people. So now we're in the business process improvement side of the house before it comes back to the SharePoint technology side. And I've done that many places. You can do that same thing where you look at construction. I use this example, right? Say you're a painter. You get in, you're building your credibility. And remember, people work with the ones they know, like, and trust. And so trust comes from just doing a good job. And so as you do painting, you get in, and I've had contracts like this at Navy Air bases, Navy installations, where our job was to just go in and paint. This is an earlier company, even actually before I joined the Army. I forgot about this. But we would go in and we would just paint buildings. And so we'd move everything to the middle, we'd paint them, and we'd get out. That's all they brought us in for, and we were on a larger contract. Well, as you do that, you can begin to get more and more work as you scale up. And for those of you in construction in general, who have the ability to either start doing electrical, for example, not just framing, but electrical, or maybe you want to do the framing and everything, but you also want to bring on a teaming partner and maybe go after the whole, building a wing on a hospital or whatever it is. I'm not really construction, so I can't use the examples too much. But this idea of beginning to build it, well, if you build your past performances in your niche, people will know that you do a good job at what you say is your niche, and they will begin to trust you on related competencies, and you just start stacking it. When we have FOMO, fear of missing out, we worry that if all we do is say we paint really well, then maybe they won't ever give us framing contracts, or we could do framing, or we could do building out the entire room or building out the entire building. Well, we fear missing out on that. But if you're not getting anything today, then you're going to miss out on it anyways. And so if you focus and you get what you can get, then you begin to build out from there. So I hope this makes sense. I'm really trying to drive towards teaching and convincing you. I really want to convince you that you can grow faster and better if you slow down and tighten up on a niche, a core competency. And so maybe actually in the chat, if you guys are feeling up for this, just what is like 1 to 3 words? What's your niche? Not anything more than 3 words. If you can't say it in more than 3 words, to me, it's still, you're still worried about, shrinking it down. But what's one word that would describe what your company does? 1 to 3 words, let's say. Throw that in the comments if you feel generous. One, I would love to know. So if you're on here and I'm connected with you, I can always begin to come back and remember. Like today's example with Amit, and you can see I'm seeing him. He's Chicago-based company. I just know he's been on these LinkedIn lives for Amit. I feel like you've been on almost the whole time, but I know that he does AI ML. I also know, because I had a conversation with him, that he does a lot of other stuff. And he might be like, I don't want to be pigeonholed. Maybe he goes, I'm the data company or something, right? But here's counter drone technology. Just the fact, I don't know who that is at the moment, because it just says LinkedIn user on my chat, but just the fact that it says counter drone technology gets my mind going. I'm like, well, counter drone technology has got to be airport related or installation military base related. It's got to be ship related, like trying to counter drones, meaning we want to fight any enemy or bad drones coming into our space. Who are the quick people who have that? Just thinking about that instantly helps me see it. Actually, for whoever just put counter drone, come back and put your name in so I see it and I tie it together really quick in case I go away. By the way, just because you're my family on LinkedIn here, my family here in my home, we just all got hit with COVID this week, and so we're riding that wave at the moment, and basically doing fine. So, but if I don't get back to you right away, that's why. Doctor's appointments, some other stuff, no big deal, but we're just doing that. That's an interesting one, Kumar. AI and ML on AWS Cloud, right? I know a company that's really focused on AWS solutions. They're tied very tightly with AWS, Amazon Web Services. And, now I can go, and I know they're not strong in AI ML yet. And it's like, okay, well, maybe I come back and I remember that Kumar's company does this as well. Okay, Gabe, great. Well, I should remember now, counter drones, Gabe, like my son's name. All things cybersecurity. That'll be an interesting conversation to see. Just when it's all things cybersecurity, does that mean offensive cybersecurity as well? So it's always fun, and I get it. That just says LinkedIn user, by the way, so I don't know who it is, but it definitely is this idea of, could you take cybersecurity and bring it smaller? I know you can do everything, but if you're not doing $100 million plus, could you tighten down and really just go after a niche in cybersecurity that would drive it home? If you see me lean over, I'm just trying to look at my phone to make sure I'm tracking on this. I was trying to give you one last tip on this, and I'll have to put it into another topic. But one of the things when I thought about niches, that this little phrase, I'm going to try to see if it rings for me, but get in, get trusted, and then get more. So that's what I was writing down. Get in an agency or get in with a prime, small or large, doesn't matter. Get into the relationship, get trusted by the government or your teaming partner, and then get more business as you prove yourself in there. And remember, fear of missing out could be holding you back from actually participating, if that makes sense, right? Fear of missing out could prevent you from actually getting into the conversation. So get in, get more, get out. No, get in, get trusted, get more. Don't never get out. I gotta get used to that one. So, okay, looking down here, servers, and thank you very much for the recovery. I think we're good. I think it's a nice day, so I'm gonna go out for a walk and try to get a little healthy. But I appreciate you joining today. Definitely give it a thumbs up if you found value. If you haven't been to the website, govconchamber.com, get in there and get the directories. I'm excited about some news. I'll tell you next week about that, but that's where we put that information. And remember, government contracting, it's not a secret. It's just a process. I'll see you next time.